Hi everyone, online people, I hope you can hear me all right. So I'm Olivia de Paeztron and I'm lead learning designer at ESMT in Berlin, and I am also a graduate of the University of Edinburgh's MSc in Digital Education. And this talk, which I'm going to try and do in 5 minutes, is about my dissertation project that I completed at Edinburgh. So it's my first foray into social science because my undergrad was in philosophy, and the most confounding essay question that I had during year 1 metaphysics was, can there be time without change? Can there be change without time? Discuss. So I wrote that essay and I didn't think about that question again for many, many years until I was working in online learning design. And I just found that increasingly, as the quote from one of my interviewees from my project demonstrates here, time is of the utmost importance to students in this case, but to everyone involved in online educational design. And so if I can move to the next slide, my project was really inspired by actually one of the academics at Edinburgh, Phil Shale's work on the shifting time space of campus of a university as you move into digital provision, and really questioning how whether anytime, anywhere learning really is as flexible for students and for other actors as we like to think. And those questions coincided with a project at my workplace where we were moving to launching the first fully online MBA program, where previously we'd had a couple of blended programs. This was the first one where participants would never come to the campus at all. They would be 100% online with a smaller amount of synchronous teaching involved. And for the majority of the programs that are run at the school, the classroom timetabling is sort of the main spatio-temporal organizing device. And so I wanted to explore what the challenges were of designing time for part-time learning and teaching. And I took an ethnographic approach because, because I was very well situated to do so, being sort of embedded in that setting, and also because it seemed to me that as much as we can talk about design frameworks and best practices and so, there's so much that you need to understand about the institutional context to really help you identify what the challenges are there. So if I can go to the next slide, my main finding was that this was a huge, sprawling topic, far too big for an MSc dissertation, but I tried to sum it up in 3 areas of challenge that I found from the field work and from also looking at the interviews and examining also the role that the technology played that we were using. And so one first challenge I found was in talking about time in a very quantified way. The LMS, or the virtual learning environment that we use, required us to specify estimated timings for students. So to say that this screen would take around an hour to complete, this screen would be 20 minutes, the whole thing would be a certain number of hours per week. And that's really important for part-time students because they need to strategize about when they allocate their time to study. But in sort of highlighting the estimated timing, the risk was that people sort of focused more on, did it take that time or not? And rather than, did they learn the lessons that we were aiming to get across in that piece of the course? And the other thing that I found kind of interesting, looking just more broadly, not only at online learning, but also the online teaching, was that the estimated timings for students were scattered throughout the digital resources, but the timing for teaching work was not indicated there at all. And why is that? So that was one area. And then the second area was, as I said, this was the first program that was fully online and with a reduced amount of synchronous teaching. And that was definitely also a challenge for people because there was such comfort and familiarity with synchronous sessions that the synchronous sessions were seen as like prime time for interaction and feedback. And there was sort of a challenge there about, well, how do we make the most of the asynchronous teaching opportunities, and how do you kind of plan for those? And then maybe a related thing was that online students will challenge the pace of a course. They'll be on there at different times, and that's very different from what faculty have been used to being all in one place at one time. So they had to sort of navigate responses to that. And then maybe the final one was a sort of a kind of a murkier area, but something that I found very interesting was that there was also, when I interviewed people about their experiences of time and working in course design, was that we had pairs of learning designers and faculty members, and they talked, all of them, about how important their collaboration over time was, the iterative approach that they were taking to moving from blended courses to fully online courses. And they, even though I interviewed them separately, they would have shared understandings within their pairs of how to navigate those challenges of time, and they would take differing approaches between the teams. And similarly with the teaching with faculty and the TAs, they talked also about the importance of their collaboration over time, that it was a very fluid and organic relationship. And this was a challenge for us at the time because we were scaling up the program, wanted to bring in more students, there would therefore be more TAs supporting it. So how did we plan to scale those relationships, because they seem to be quite hard to design in advance, basically. So that's a kind of whistle-stop tour, basically. And my final slide is just I threw up a lot of questions in trying to explore this topic. So that question of how time and change relate to each other is still, for me, kind of unanswered, but I think they're really important dimensions of online education and design, and we cannot ignore them, we should not ignore them. And I've just indicated all the ways that this threw up further questions, and I'd be very interested in hearing other people's ideas and impressions. Thank you.